Good morning. Ooh. Our power was out again at the church. It seems like our power goes out every night. And we have the worst power system, apparently. Whoa. So every week, it's an adventure, whether or not we can get this started. And so it's always an interesting adventure around here. But it's been a good week. Got some new dirt put in the parking lot and some gravel, some actually crushed asphalt, and redoing the parking lot with the ministry center in it, and getting ready. But we also have food ministry on Saturday, so always an adventure. Always need help. If you're available to come on out and help us with food ministry. It's going to be a tougher week because of the dirt in the parking lot, so we'll do our best as always to try to pull off a great food ministry for people in need. And kids closet will be open, and so it'll be good. The lunch food program will be going on. A lot of ministries you can plug into, missions. So we've been encouraging you as we've been studying the church at Corinth that God expects us to use our gifts that He gives us, our spiritual gifts. We've been talking about them on Wednesday nights, and we're taking the test tonight, and then the whole church will take the test in September when we go through 1 Corinthians, the gifts, and kind of looking forward to that. Everyone should be plugged in using their spiritual gift. It's not a talent. It's a gift that God specifically gives you for the church you're part of, and the church will need it at the time. So He gives you a gift that you can use while you're at that church. You move to a different church, your gift might change. That's the uniqueness of spiritual gifts. They're not the same gift every time. I've experienced that in my own life as a pastor. God has gifted me differently in different churches in different ways. So it's just a fun thing to learn. It's a unique thing that God gives us. And so we've been learning about that. Hopefully you'll plug in to a mission in our church, a ministry of our church, which ministry is serving each other, mission is serving the world, and then a Bible study, which we encourage everyone to be involved in. At least something that you're learning the Word of God. And people will say, why do I push so hard? Well, the reality of the situation is my job as a shepherd of this flock is to prepare them and to get them ready for things that will happen in this world, but also things that will happen in the next. And the more I prepare you for that, the better shepherd I am. And so I'm not going to stop doing what I know to do is right, and encourage you all to be involved in Bible studies and mission and ministry, and until everyone does it. And someday you'll thank me when you get to heaven. You get all these crowns, and the benefit is in what you did here on earth, serving Him, and so that's part of it, right? There's reward in it. And but in our Bible study today, we've been studying Genesis. We're in our 20th week of Genesis, and we have been following the dysfunctional family of Abraham, as Abraham had his son Isaac, and Isaac had all kinds of issues with his twins, Jacob and Esau, and his wife Rebekah, who caused some minor issues with dividing the family and splitting them. Then we saw Jacob flee for his life. He had this moment with God. He goes to Uncle Laban to get a wife. And where we left off last week is he had worked 7 years for Rachel and was excited to become her husband. And instead, he got Leah. And so Jacob has found himself kind of out of control of his own destiny. And so we get to verse 25 in chapter 29. If you have your Bibles, I'd encourage you to follow along. So it came about in the morning that, behold, it was Leah, and he said to Laban, what is it that you have done with me? Was it not for Rachel that I served with you? Why have you deceived me? The master deceiver here is unhappy he was deceived. But Laban said, it's not the practice in our place to marry off the younger before the firstborn. Complete the week of this one, and we will give you the other also for the service which you also serve with me for another 7 years. This is delicious. Jacob did so and completed her week and he gave him his daughter Rachel as his wife. Laban also gave him his maid Bilhah to his daughter Rachel as her maid. So Jacob went into Rachel also, and indeed he loved Rachel more than Leah, and he served with Laban for another 7 years. So Laban, who is a genius deceiver, got rid of both of his daughters, got them married off, and to a very wealthy individual, and all he had to do was trick him. And then once he tricked him, he said, hey, so you like Rachel? Let's make another deal. How about another 7 years? 14 years for Rachel. He definitely loved Rachel because he worked another 7 years, even after he married her. And he was a man of his word. He could have taken his wife after a week and ran off to the hills. But no, he committed to working another 7 years for Rachel. So even though he got to marry her at the beginning, he worked his other 7 years. And he made him wait a week so that Leah could enjoy her marriage for a week. They never give you Rachel or Leah's side of the story, and it must be a wonderful household to be in when you're married to the same husband, sisters. Now, I know that kind of screams Mormonism, but culturally it was a little bit different. By the way, God never supported multiple marriages. There was never once, you'll find in the Bible, where God said, hey, listen, go take another wife. He was not for that at all. He allowed it, obviously, like he allows everything today that happens. We get choice. But there's consequences to those choices. And not once do you find anyone who had multiple wives that didn't have extra problems. Now, I'm not saying that women are a problem. Don't take me wrong. I'm clearly saying that they had extra wives because obviously these people couldn't even love their children equally, love their wives equally. So we have all these situations where you have obviously family dynamics coming into play, and it makes sense. You love one wife more than the other, that's going to make the other wife feel bad and hatred towards the other wife. And now you have sisters at war. That must have just been a brutal place to be at. So we have trickery and we have all this other stuff. But in Jacob's life, he finally gets Rachel, who he loved, and he finally gets everything worked out. So in verse 31, it says, now the Lord saw that Leah was unloved, and he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. Leah conceived and bore a son, and named him Reuben, for she said, because the Lord has seen my affliction, surely now my husband will love me. Then she conceived again and bore a son, and said, because the Lord has heard that I am unloved, he has therefore given me this son also. So she named him Simeon. She conceived again and bore a son, and said, now this time my husband will become attached to me, because I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore he was named Levi. And she conceived again and bore a son, and said, this time I will praise the Lord. Therefore she named him Judah. Then she stopped bearing. The Lord gives Leah the opportunity to have children. In her misery of not being a loved wife, she found children to replace that love. God gave her something. And it's nice that God, who did not arrange this situation, had compassion on the one who was least loved. It's a lesson in the Bible that we find when he desires of us to love those who are unloved. We see it played out with God as he loves Leah, so much so that he gives her children and does not give it to Rachel. Rachel's receiving plenty of love. Leah is not, so God opens her womb so that she can be loved. And unfortunately, Leah, who is still trying to get the love of Jacob, believing that children will bring the love of her husband back to her. It does not work, but at least she has the children. Um, we see a constant theme here as God is taking care of the wives in these situations. The Bible sometimes, um, but people misinterpret the Bible, I should say. The Bible never puts women on a different level. But many people misinterpret the Bible to say that the Bible, women are lower class. From the very beginning, Adam and Eve were created equally. Um, their tasks were different. That's sort of like the transgender argument today. Um, no matter how much you try to look like a woman as a man, there are certain attributes that a man has that dominate women. And don't worry, women, there are certain attributes that dominate men. And we see it played out as a man destroys women in track meets, right? That's not saying a woman cannot be faster than a man, but it is predominantly true that men are faster racers than women. And that it's a rarity for a woman to rise to the top of a man's sport, where it is not for a man to rise to the top of a woman's. Once again, that's not a level of one person's better than the other. It's just we're created differently for different purposes in life and the way we lead. There is no doubt that women are better at certain things than men are. And I always say that love is one of them. Women love way deeper and more meaningful than men will ever love. We will never understand the depth of a love that a mom has for her child that a father does not have for his child. It's deeper, it's more meaningful. Men will never have that. Do we want it? Absolutely. Do we strive for it? We try to. We try to make it that way, but we will never come to that point. God created them that way. He gave them children as the gift to use that love. Women love their husbands better than husbands love their wives. And I know I might take a hit for that, but that is just truth. That's the way God created us. No different than a man can outrun a woman in a sport, or you get a man in a boxing ring with a woman and it looks ugly as he almost beats her to death. And the World Olympics and the world says, oh, there's no difference. No difference between a man and a woman. No difference. Absolutely different. And that's why we stand against transgenderism, because it's the abuse of women. But it also is the abuse of the fact that God created man and woman. That's it. There's only two genders, man and woman. And because of that, we kind of stand against everyone equally, which is amazing in the Bible that he loved women just as much as he loved men. There was no favoritism in God towards man or woman. In this situation, we see it played out. Leah got the raw end of the stick because of her dad, not because of God. Her dad tricked her husband into taking her because nobody else would. She's stuck. But God opens her room, gives her the opportunity to be loved. The story of Jacob's family gets worse, actually, not better. So now we have sons in the pictures with a mom that's not loved. And I don't know if you've ever been in a family dynamic where the mom is not being loved by the dad and the children are being loved by the mom and not necessarily the dad because of the mom. He doesn't love the mom, so therefore he's not going to love the kids of that mom. Creates a lot of family dynamics, which we will get into. It's important that we love each other. It's important that a husband loves his wife as best as possible, even though we're not good at it. In chapter 30, we get to verse 1. It says, now when Rachel saw that she bore Jacob no children, she became jealous of her sister. Here's the family dynamics. And she said to Jacob, give me children or else I'll die. Then Jacob's anger burned against Rachel, and he said, am I in the place of God, who has withheld from you the fruit of the womb? She said, here is my maid Bilhah. Go into her that she may bear on my knees, that through her too I may have children. Here we go. I don't know if we remember all the way back to Abraham, but This did not work out for Abraham. When she brought him a child or a servant and said, have a child with her, and then I'll have children. We remember this created the Arab nations, which, by the way, hated Israel and still hate Israel today. Let's see how this works out. So she gave him her maid Bilhah as a wife, and Jacob went into her. Bilhah conceived and bore Jacob a son. Then Rachel said, God has vindicated me and has indeed heard my voice and given me a son. Therefore she named him Dan. Rachel's maid Bilhah conceived again and bore Jacob a second son. So Rachel said, with mighty wrestlings I am wrestling with my sister, and I have indeed prevailed. And she named him Naphtali. Now, this is a sad situation. Here we have two sisters, wives, that are jealous of each other. One gets love, the other one gets children. And so they come up with schemes. And poor Jacob is caught in the middle of this. Remind you, he didn't do anything to deserve this either, other than the fact that he's not loving properly. But he was forced into two wives by her dad. So in this situation, we have two sisters going at it, trying to have children to please each of them themselves and get the love of Jacob. And Jacob's caught in the middle. And now we have a third person, Bilhah, who is a servant. And now Bilhah, which, I don't know, I guess in the Bible is a sex slave. It's crazy, just crazy. What we read that happened. And mind you, once again, God's not behind this. God's not for this. There's nowhere in the Bible where it says, hey, listen, go sleep with your servants. This is, once again, man's and woman's way of trying to get around God. He's not giving me children. Well, here, have a servant. She'll give me children, and then I will have those children. But they're not her children. They're just her servant's children. But yet she acts as if this is her children. Creates a mighty wedge, obviously, between Jacob. He gets angry, the Bible says, and gets mad at her because he's like, am I God that I choose who has children? And so Genesis 30, verse 9, here we go. Sister wars. When Leah saw that she had stopped bearing, she took her maid Zilpah and gave her to Jacob as a wife. I mean, if this was a soap opera, it would be too crazy for TV. I mean, literally, this stuff is out of the world. So now we have Leah, who has Zilpah now. Leah's maid Zilpah bore Jacob a son, and Leah said, how fortunate. So she named him Gad. Leah made Zilpah bore Jacob a second son. Then Leah said, happy am I, for women will call me happy. So she named him Asher. Okay, let's get you caught up here. We have now, Jacob has 4 wives and a lot of children. This is so dysfunctional that this must really bother God. But here's the interesting thing. If you'll notice these names of these children, they appear later on as the tribes of Israel. They are the 12 tribes of Israel that are mentioned throughout the rest of the Bible, come from this dysfunctional family. And you're probably wondering, how is this all going to work out? All this intermarriage and creation of all kinds of chaos by multiple wives and sisters who are at war with each other, using Jacob as a donor, so to speak. So you just keep having sex with all these different women. Now, I know in a secular world, this story, like I said, in a soap opera, would probably play out with Jacob being the manly man, a hero. He's got 4 wives. He has all these children. He's living large with all these women. But this is not a soap opera, and this is not a secular world. This is a spiritual world we're talking about. This is not good. It's not. There's nowhere in the Bible where it says, hey, listen, this is good. It's not good. And we'll see what happens as a result. Genesis 30, verse 14 says, now in the days of the wheat harvest, Reuben went and found mandrakes in the field and brought them to his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, please give me some of your son's mandrakes. But she said to her, is it a small matter for you to take my husband? And would you take my son's mandrakes also? So Rachel said, therefore he may lie with you tonight in return for your son's mandrakes. When Jacob came in from the field in the evening, then Leah went out to meet him and said, you must come into me, for I have surely hired you with my son's mandrakes. So he lay with her that night. God gave heed to Leah, and she conceived and bore Jacob a fifth son. Then Leah said, God has given me my wages because I gave my maid to my husband. So she named him Issachar. Leah conceived again and bore a sixth son to Jacob. Then Leah said, God has endowed me with a good gift. Now my husband will dwell with me because I have borne him six sons. So she named him Zebulon. Afterwards, she bore a daughter and named her Dinah. Okay. All right. Just when you think the story can't get weirder, the story gets weirder. Now, a mandrake, which is a flower, it's a rare wild plant that has bluish flowers in winter and yellow plum-sized fruit in summer. Prized as an aphrodisiac, an inducer of fertility. You can wonder, now you know why Rachel desires this. She thinks that if she has this, she can have her own children. Its name is Dudae from Dud, which means beloved, called the love apple in the Middle East. This is obviously why both women desire it. Reuben probably bought it to his mother Leah as a simple gift, like any son might bring a flower to his mother. But when Rachel sees it, she immediately recognizes it as the plant that might solve her infertility problem. Remember, of Jacob's 4 wives, only Rachel has failed to bring Jacob a son. So she asked Leah for some of the mandrakes, but obviously the sisters hate each other by now, and she won't even give her a mandrake. Give her own husband away as a prize for the night so she can have mandrakes. Yes, that's right. Jacob, caught in the middle, now gets no choice, but has to sleep with Leah too. But because there is, oh man, we are having connection issues. I might have to redo some of this. But we get to this point where we're at the, Leah tells Jacob about the arrangement. He complies. And it works in the opposite effect for poor Rachel. Leah has children even more. Genesis 30, verse 22. Then God remembered Rachel, and God gave heed to her and opened her womb. So she conceived and bore a son and said, God has taken away my reproach. She named him Joseph, saying, may the Lord give me another son. Now we have, I don't know if the mandrakes worked or what, but God opened the situation, and she's able to have a son. She names him Joseph, hoping that she will have more children. Just highlight where I left off here, just in case I have to go back and redo a second part to this. All right. So we see chapter 30 comes to an end with some of the most chaotic stuff in the Bible. In verse 25, it ends it with, now it came when Rachel had borne Joseph that Jacob said to Laban, send me away that I may go to my own place and to my own country. We forgot Jacob's living all of this played out in his dad's house. But Laban said to, now, if it pleases with you, stay with me. I have divined that the Lord has blessed me on your account. He continued, name me your wages and I will give it. But he said to him, you yourself know how I have served you and how your cattle have fared with me. For you had little before I came, and it has increased to a multitude, and the Lord has blessed you wherever I turn. But now, when shall I provide for my own household also? So Jacob has been honoring his 7 years, and he's decided to leave. And obviously, Laban has realized that a lot of his growth and wealth has come as a result of Jacob living there, and so he doesn't want him to leave. And Jacob's like, it's time for me to manage my own family, which, By the way, he's not doing a very good job of. Genesis 30:31 says, so he said, what shall I give you? And Jacob said, you shall not give me anything. If you will do this one thing for me, I will again pasture and keep your flock. Let me pass through your entire flock today, removing from there every speckled and spotted sheep, and every black one among the lambs, and the spotted and speckled among the goats, and such shall be my wages. So my honesty will answer for me later when you come concerning my wages. Every one that is not speckled and spotted among the goats and black among the lambs. Laban offers to give Jacob some of Laban's household as Jacob's inheritance. This is Laban's desperation, not his love. He is basically willing to adopt Jacob as if he were a son, including an inheritance over Laban's own sons and Isaac. In hearing Laban's offer, Jacob makes a counter proposal of his own. He first states that he will not take anything from Laban. Jacob means he's not interested in becoming